Always know the difference between what you're getting and what you deserve. The reality is that there's going to be situations in life with what people are offering you isn't truly what's best for you. And you've got to understand the need to not settle. But let's be real. In today's world, especially for women in dating, the temptation to settle is strong for some. Or there are a lot of individuals encouraging settling, saying, well, maybe your options would be more realistic, or you would find more success if you were just willing to lower what your standards are. Be more willing to take less than what you actually desire. Now listen, I'm never going to tell anyone to settle, but I don't want to just say it just to say it. I want you to understand why you should not do it and why this is a recipe for disaster every single time. So, number one is your tolerance is temporary. What do I mean here? I have seen tons of women settle in dating and relationships. And I've seen those women who, yes, when they settled, when they were willing to quote unquote lower their standards, they were able to find the man. Now, if your goal is to simply find the man, then this recipe does work. But if you're trying to find peace, happiness, and the right man, this is not going to work. Because again, what these women do is they convince themselves that they can deal with this thing. And when I say this thing, they can deal with the shortcomings. They can deal with what's lacking. They can deal with changing their desire, or what they think is changing their desire for certain things. But they can't sustain that because it's not real, all right? It's them just trying to accommodate the moment. It's them trying to make it work right now so they can achieve their goal of a relationship. And sometimes it's not just a relationship, it's, well, I want to be married so badly, so I'm going to make some adjustments to what I'm willing to accept into my life. I want a kid badly, so I'm going to make some adjustments with what I accept in my life. More specifically, the type of man I will accept in my life. And I know that as the woman ages, as a woman feels like her options are dwindling, or maybe feels like she's in a city that doesn't have great options, again, the temptation creeps in. But like I said, your tolerance is temporary. And so even if you get that man, even if you get that baby, even if you get that marriage, your ability to keep this going long term is damn near non-existent. And even if you're able to keep it going, how miserable are you going to be in the process? All right? Because we have to understand that longevity in relationships does not equal success. There's a lot of times where women say to me, well, look at this woman. She's been married for 20 years, but she's been miserable for 19 of them. Oh, well, this one's in her relationship. They seem good. Yeah, seem. She posts a lot of nice pictures on Instagram. She's screaming on social media and posting her status that she's so in love. But what you don't know is she's crying behind closed doors. She's frustrated and constantly fighting with this man that she accepted into her life and knew he was not best for her. So without being able to, in the long run, keep this going, why are we going to bother at all? You're only going to create more problems by now attaching yourself to a man who does not belong in your life. This can turn into a nightmare baby daddy, all right? A nightmare, again, marriage where now we talk a lot about, when I say we, society talks a lot about the financial ramifications that men have in marriage. But here's a reality check. Financial ramifications fall on who's ever making more money, okay? And in today's world, there are plenty of women who make more money than the man, all right? And now the burden or the consequences, and I don't say that to deter you from marriage in a general sense, just putting in perspective that there is a price that has to be paid for some women as well when they marry the wrong man. All right? And again, I believe in marriage, but I want you to marry the right person and for the right reasons. But getting back to the main point, whether it's the horrible baby's father, whether it's marriage with its own ramifications, or just the everyday quality of life that you have now sacrificed by being with someone you're not truly happy with. Sometimes, a lot of times, that is worse than even being single. You know, some people think it's better to have a piece of a man than no man. No, I say if you can't have the whole man, don't have none of him. Because to be in a relationship and not get what you need, it's almost like torture, because you're not able to now freely try to seek it elsewhere. Not freely. Some women are stepping out doing their thing. That's a whole other discussion. But you're not able to get what you need without further consequence. So you see, all you're doing is going further down the rabbit hole. Okay, yeah, you settle for this guy. There's a huge void in this relationship. Some women will go out there and cheat, but now you've introduced another man to this dynamic. You've introduced another possible drama-filled situation, all right? More headache, more stress. You get the point. Ultimately, it's not worth it. It's not going to work for you. So you've got to understand settling is not in your best interest. But here's a second thing to consider as to why you should never settle in dating and relationships. You will not be able to be the woman that he needs. And let me be even more specific with my wording. You will not be able to pour into him consistently and sustainably what he needs, all right? So let me paint a picture, give an example. You have a scenario where a woman meets a guy, or she's having struggles with dating and relationships, right? And let's just say she was hoping for a muscular 6-foot man, all right, who's doing well in life, and other things that she wanted on the list. But she settles. And I'm going to put settling into better perspective at the end of this video. But let's just say she doesn't just settle in the sense of she doesn't get 6 foot and muscular. She settles for a man who she is not truly attracted to, all right? And I'm really thinking of a specific scenario in my head where she got with a man who was extremely out of shape. He wasn't that tall, but I don't think that the height wasn't as bad of the issue as the very out of shape and just lacking attraction, all right? I don't want to say the man wasn't cute. I just want to say I don't think she found him cute, okay? Anyways, she saw him as an opportunity to get married, all right, and reach her goals in life. Her goals. And I say it like that because, yes, there are a lot of women who have set marriage and kids and certain things like that as goals, as even expectations, to where when they start to get nervous that they're quote-unquote running out of time, they start accepting people that they shouldn't accept. Anyways, she gets married to this man. But here's what's not being considered. And here's what happened with her. Yes, she was able to be in a relationship with him. And she was able to stay with him for a long time. But during that time, she didn't really want to be affectionate with him. Sex was very scarce, all right? And if we go further, the level of respect, the level of admiration that a man needs from his woman, all right, non-existent. And so even though initially he was happy to have this beautiful, amazing woman in his eyes, you know, he probably thought, man, I can't get a woman like this, or I didn't think I could get a woman like this. He was miserable. And of course, she was left with a huge void, because it's one thing to not be able to give him what he needs, but let's face it, if the intimacy is lacking, if the admiration and respect is lacking, then what speaks to a woman's heart and what she desires, that closeness, that connection, she's not getting it either. So now neither of them are happy. And all they're trying to do is deal with it and tolerate each other. There are so many relationships and marriages where two people are just tolerating each other, just taking it one day at a time, trying to get to the next day, or burying themselves in distractions, kids, work, family, friends, you name it, rather than facing the reality that they're not truly into their partner and they don't get what they need from their partner in this relationship. So when you settle as a woman, your motivation, the fuel that you need to continuously pour into this man in the way that he needs is completely undermined. So whether it's attraction, whether it's other aspects like respect, whatever may contribute to a lack of respect and admiration and all these different things, this is going to make it difficult. Now listen, let's be clear. You can get with the right person and things can happen in life that can cause a hit in those areas. And so what I mean by that is if you got with someone and they let themselves go in certain areas of their life, it can have a negative impact where now our ability to pour into each other is going to be very much hindered. But it's one thing to get with someone who in the beginning there's a foundation of we have what we need and then we hit a rough patch. We can learn to work through that. It's another thing to knowingly get into the relationship with someone where these things are not there already. They're not going to magically appear. They're not going to just, we'll figure it out later. Some people, there's always exceptions to every rule. Some people may have managed to escape the pitfalls of that approach and actually succeed, but those are very, very rare cases. The majority suffer, plain and simple. And so if you cannot be the woman he needs, if you cannot pour into him continuously the way that he will need, you will never experience a loving, fulfilling, successful relationship with this man. So it just adds to another reason why you should never settle. So now, another issue I've seen happen when it comes to women who end up going down that path of settling, all right? And again, at the end, I'm going to put into perspective what settling really is because it's important. Matter of fact, let me explain it now before I continue. Settling is not about not getting what you wanted, as far as I'm concerned. It's about not getting what's best for you, okay? So using the example earlier about the woman who wanted a man who's, let's just say there's a woman, she wants a man who's 6'2", makes 6 figures, no kids, good looking, college educated, right? And then you meet a man who is 5'8", makes $70K, has a kid, only has a high school diploma, never went to college. Now, on paper, if a woman gets with guy B, right, they would say she's settled. But to me, if guy B makes you truly happy, if with guy B you experience a real connection, if with guy B he is able to pour into your needs, then you have not settled. You won. You won. And so I think it's important to understand that, listen, there's a lot of things we may want, but is it what we need? Is it what's truly best for us? Is it what's going to make us happy in the long run? And it's important to understand the difference because I've seen women get what they want and still end up unhappy, still end up miserable, because what we want is based off of, again, maybe where we are in life at that moment, how maybe the emotional state we are at that time. There could be a lot of different factors. To me, want can be very temporary. Need it's gonna always be there. It speaks to the core of who we are. And so it's important that we don't confuse the two. So as I continue to go along with this video, keep that in mind, that it's about settling is not about not getting what you want. It's really about not getting what you need and what's best for you. Because if that woman did get a guy who was 6'2", made six figures and all that other stuff I mentioned, but he does not truly make you happy at the end of the day, then you settled. You could have got everything you wanted, but if you are still unhappy, still missing something in your life with this relationship, then you settled. Keep that in mind. So now, to move this along, what I have seen happen with a lot of women is this need to make the safe choice. So let me put that in perspective real quick. General story, so to speak. What happens to a lot of women is that they may have a relationship, let's call it their first love, okay? And in this first love, the woman is extremely vulnerable, wide open, you know. I'm gonna use the word naive, but not naive to make it negative, but naive just to put in perspective that she's not aware beyond her emotions. She's so caught up and consumed in the moment, she's not able to properly evaluate things. And that typically happens to a lot of women with their first love. You know, because typically the first love is when you're young. Hell, even if it's not when you're young, it can happen because you have not experienced this yet and you don't know how to fully navigate it. Anyways, getting to the point, get with that guy, and many times, in many cases, that first love is either just not the guy for you, or he's not mature enough. He's not truly ready to be the man you need him to be just yet. And because of that, he is going to mishandle the relationship. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to hurt you. All right? And because he's this guy that you are so open and vulnerable with, his hurt is going to hurt a lot. It's going to sting. So let's just say the two break up, and now women will process within themselves that, okay, I don't want to have to go through this again. I don't want to put myself in this scenario again. So now, consciously or subconsciously, I'm going to make a safe choice. I'm going to choose the man that I don't think I have to worry about in the ways I had to worry about my first love. Whether that be, this guy may be good enough to be with, but he doesn't make me vulnerable like that. Or it could be my first love was really good looking and got way too much attention from women. So I'm going to choose a guy who's not that great looking. I'm laughing, but this is a real thing. Not that great looking because I don't have to worry about him as much. Or I may pick a guy who's just not as desirable because I feel like with him, I will have more emotional control, more emotional security, as well as I technically will have the upper hand. I will be the more valuable one in this situation. It creates what's the word I'm looking for? It creates a false perception of safety. All right? And it is a true false perception. And I'm going to explain it now. Because what this leads to is the fact that the safe choice is usually the wrong choice. So one, why is it the wrong choice? Because again, the safe choice is another word for the choice, the man I settled for. Let's just be real. You're not calling the guy who you think is so magnificent and amazing and you're so in love with the safe choice. He's not going to feel safe. If anything, that guy, especially if you've already been hurt before, that guy seems like the scariest choice possible. All right? That guy feels dangerous as hell. And if you have not healed, you're more than likely to run from that guy, which is a lot of women have ran from the right guy and ran to the wrong one. All right? So when we say safe choice, we're really in most cases, if not pretty much all, saying the guy you settled for. And so, again, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. If you're settling for him, you're not going to be able to be the woman he needs, which opens the door, and I have to highlight this specifically, which opens the door to him cheating on you. The reason why I'm mentioning this specifically is because All the women I have sat down with and coached, when we discovered that they accepted the safe choice into their life, they have all acknowledged that a part of them believed that this man would not cheat on them. Because again, the perception is, I'm the prize here. I'm of the greater quality. He should be happy to have me, happy that I'm even allowing myself to accept him into my life. He has to appreciate my presence. He can't afford to, not only can he not afford to cheat on me, hell, he's not the most desirable dude. So he's not getting women left and right anyway, okay? And not all safe choices, that doesn't apply to all safe choices, the whole not getting other women, but that can apply in a lot of scenarios. So anyways, you're thinking, oh, okay, he ain't going nowhere. He's not gonna cheat. But what's being overlooked is, he's excited to get with you initially. So yes, he views you as, oh my gosh, I got this. Going back to my example of the guy who was unattractive, getting that woman and thought, I can never get a woman like this. But after the hype goes away, after the smoke clears, he's now faced with the reality that I have this on paper desirable woman, but she doesn't give me what I need. Now I'm not happy. Now I have a void. And I don't care who you are, man or woman, when you are in a relationship and you're not having your needs met, at the very least, the temptation of infidelity, the temptation of cheating starts to creep in. And now it may simply become a situation of, does the opportunity present itself? Some people simply have not cheated yet because they haven't had the opportunity. All right. And I'm talking about specifically the ones who are being neglected in their relationship, who are not being fulfilled, not having their needs met. They have not had the opportunity to, or a desirable option to take. But it's not because there's not a part of them that wants to. Because again, we are human. And we don't get in relationships to be neglected. Plain and simple. So when a partner does that, it's going to cause a problem. So getting back to the specific dynamic of making the safe choice, again, he's a safe choice. He's the guy you settled for. You can't pour into him continuously the way that he needs. This opens the door to him doing exactly what you thought he wouldn't do. Cheat. And the mistake that a lot of women make is then to think that this cheating is a result of him simply being a man. Wrong. It is a result of two people who should not be together, who are not pouring into each other as needed and not being fulfilled in this relationship. Fulfilled in the way that a relationship should fulfill two people. So, whether it be the cheating aspect, whether it be, again, just being unhappy and miserable in this relationship, the safe choice turns into a lot of other issues. One other aspect I'm going to add to this is a lot of times, this is what I have seen, a lot of times that quote unquote safe choice turns into the narcissist. Now, I know that might sound strange to some of you because you're like, no. They're either a narcissist from the jump or they're not. There's a different video we're going to have to do on that, right? But let me say this. Sometimes what is being perceived as narcissism is plain and simple being selfish. And that selfishness can come about when people feel like their partner is dismissing and devaluing them. And now they make it all about them, all right? And they become narcissistic. I have seen people enter into a relationship with genuine intent and then evolve into a very narcissistic mindset, all right? But also sometimes, yes, it could be they were a narcissist from the jump, but you did not see it because you were not evaluating them from that perspective. You were evaluating them from the perspective of, this is safe here. What you thought would be safe here. They seem like I don't have to worry about them in the ways I had to worry about my previous love. So again, I can go on and on, but the point is, safe choice, usually the wrong choice. It highlights more and more why settling, because that's basically what it is going to blow up in your face. So now, I gave you a lot to consider, but here's a few more things as to why you should never settle in dating and relationships. And that's because God did not create you to settle. Listen, God did not put you on this earth to take less than what you deserve or what's best for you. God wants you to be happy. Now, I want to be very clear. The path to happiness through God may have to go through some storms, some hills, some struggles, all right? But we have to understand that what we perceive as bad or struggle, or what we perceive as bad and unfortunate may be recipes for success, all right? But just something that I want you to be mindful of. But ultimately, the end result is God wants you to be in a better place. And settling is saying, I don't trust God to give me better. I don't trust God to provide me with the blessings that speak to my heart. Biblically, it says God wants to give you the desires of your heart. Now, I don't interpret that as he wants to give you what you think you want. I interpret it as he wants to give you what you truly need. Again, what will truly speak to your heart, what will truly make you happy, what will truly give you peace while on this earth. At least a level of peace, because there's a whole lot of chaos going on around us. But anyways, the point is, to settle is to undermine the process that God wants to take us through and the blessings he wants to bring us to. And so don't cheat yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you have to look at it from, okay, is what I'm accepting what God wants me to accept? Or is there more for me? All right? Is there something else that I need to achieve? Is there something else I need to do? Is there something other process I need to walk through? All of that has to be considered. So I'm just going to wrap this specific point up by saying, listen, before you even think about settling, and I don't care if it's a man, a job, whatever, pray about it. Pray before you accept things into your life. Pray before you say this is going to be good enough. Pray before you allow yourself to get so attached to a man that by the time you pray, if you heard no, you don't know how to walk away. Pray early, pray often, and trust what God is telling you in your spirit. And with that, understand that yes, what is best for you does exist. And again, notice I'm carefully using the words, what is best for you. Because there is a quote that says, what you want exists. And though I am guilty of posting and tweeting that quote plenty of times, I think it's important for you to understand again, I don't want you to be so locked into what I want. It's what is best for me. And yes, please understand, what is best for you may be the same thing as some of the things you want or all the things you want, depending on how you've processed those things, okay? But you have to look at it from the angle of what's best rather than just what is wanted. And what is best, what truly is going to make you happy, does exist and it's out there. Settling a lot of times is the result of lost hope, lost faith, buying into or falling into the trap of thinking that these things that speak to our heart, that bring us joy, are not out there, or they're not out there for us anymore. And that's a lot of devil told. I'm just going to say it like that. Like, listen, you got to reject that and understand, again, God wants better for you. God has better for you. But you got to keep pushing forward. But let me add this last thing before we wrap this video up. Attract what is best for you. I want to say attract what you desire, but again, I want you to process it different. Attract what is best for you. So what I mean is this. Everything that I'm telling you in this video about not settling is all true. But I don't want you to end this video and think, oh, okay, I'm just going to stay where I'm at in life and just not accept less. That's only a piece of the puzzle. The other piece is I'm going to do what is necessary to receive that thing that is best for me. I'm going to put in the work. Like they say, faith without deeds is dead. I don't know why I'm struggling to say it correctly, but faith without deeds is dead. I believe that's the right way to say it. Anyways, you got to put some work behind your faith. You got to put some work behind your hope and your embracing of God having better for you. And that's why it's important for you to, in prayer, ask God, okay, what do I need to do to receive these things? What is my role? What part do I play in this? It's not about go about life however you want, expecting things to fall in your lap. Plenty of people are not getting what they deserve because they're not putting in the work that needs to be done. Plain and simple. And don't take offense to that. Don't be ashamed, or don't be offended by the need to correct certain behaviors, the need to improve in certain areas, the need to grow and evolve. And we've got to understand that in attracting what is best for us, it's not simply about what we think should be acceptable. It's about what is actually required. All right? And so putting it specifically within the framework of dating and relationships. And some of y'all may not like this, but again, I say this with love, and I say this because it's what will honestly help you get to the right place. If you're not having success with men, but you're holding on to what you think men should be willing to accept, you're not going to see improvement. You're not going to see better results. There is a level of having to embrace what men, or at the very least, the type of man who is best for you, is going to need to see from you. All right? And don't think this is about, well, why is it the woman that has to change? No, the person who wants better results has to make changes. So if this video was speaking directly to men, and I will at some point make a video on this exact topic to men, because sometimes certain angles are a little different depending on who I'm speaking to. But if I was speaking to them, I would make the same exact point. It would not change. So me saying this is not because you are a woman. I'm saying this because you are a person who wants better in your life. And once you embrace that and you're willing to take the right steps forward, you're going to start to see the benefit, the progress, and receive the blessings that are truly best for you. You can meet a man that's a nice guy, but that doesn't make him the right guy for you. It's one of those unfortunate realities that so many women have faced, but a lot of women have gotten themselves in trouble trying to make it work with that quote unquote nice guy. Now, one of the things I always say is one of the worst positions for a woman to be in is to be with a great guy that she's not really in love with. And one of those reasons is because it's so hard to then validate to herself, to family, to friends, leaving this man, ending this relationship because he's such a good person. He's technically done nothing wrong, but your heart's not in it. And by trying to remain in it, trying to remain in that relationship, you only suffer. And the reality is that he suffers too. So I need you to understand the full scope of why, if you're ever in this situation, you need to think twice before you move forward, as tempting as it may be. And some of the things you need to pay attention to before it even gets that far to where you feel stuck or struggle to walk away from the situation. So let me give you a quick story. There was a woman I know, client, ex-client or client, whatever. Anyways, she was single for a few years. You know, she's had past relationships with guys that you might consider bad boys, whatever, thugs, whatever you want to call it. They were rough around the edges, right? And those situations, you know, end up being toxic. They were not healthy for her. She finally walks away from that. Awesome. So in her mind, she needs to find this nice guy. It would be better. She's going to change her selection process here. And she meets this guy. And he is sweet. He's respectful. He's caring. Decent looking guy. So he wasn't a bad looking guy, even though there's a lot of women who try to force situations with men they're not even attracted to. But we'll leave that for a different video, all right? Let's just focus on him being a nice guy. So she entertains it. Now, from the jump, she senses, it's not there because, again, she likes an edge to a guy, all right? And he didn't have any edge, no edge whatsoever, all right? But again, he's so nice, he's so great, his resume is so awesome, she moves forward. They continue to have this relationship. Now, they continue to date, they eventually get in a relationship. While she's in the relationship, she finds herself craving that more masculine energy, so to speak, right? But she resists. She did come across one situation where she met this guy at work. His energy was really what she liked. She knew he was not right for her. He was not good for her, but she was very intrigued by the man. Now, fortunately, she didn't go any further than flirting. Not that flirting was okay or good, but she was able to not let it go further than that, right? Anyways, she gets to a point where now nice guy proposes to her, and she's contemplating if she should she says yes, because unfortunately, nice guy proposes to her, well, however you want to view it, nice guy proposes to her in front of a crowd. And here's the thing, when a person proposes to you in front of a crowd, or a man proposes to you in front of a crowd, you know, that's a concern of mine is always, is the woman saying yes because she doesn't want to embarrass this man, or because she really wants to say yes? Well, in her situation, she may not have said yes if not for that crowd being there, but she did. And with that, she figured, well, let me just try to wrap my mind around this and accept this for what it is. Anyways, she was second guessing things, but she goes and moves forward. To make a long story short, gets married, and that urge for that masculine energy, that urge for that edge, it doesn't go away. She was suppressing it for a long time, but it didn't go away. Long story short, she ends up cheating. All right? And he eventually finds out, and being the man that he was, he tries to stay with her. and I'm not knocking anybody for trying to work things out after cheating. I do think some situations are worth working out, right? In this situation, I would have not said it's worth working out, simply because the cheating was a symptom of the deeper issue that wasn't being addressed. The fact that this woman was not truly into this man. And even if they would have been able to get over this one instance, I'm pretty sure it would have happened again. Well, eventually things just got really crazy, and she decided she can't do this anymore, and they got a divorce. All right. And so this whole attempt to make it work with a nice guy simply came back to haunt her and blew up in her face. And I want to point out some of the things we can learn from that story, and just what you need to be mindful of, because again, I see women making this mistake all of the time. So the first thing to consider when you're trying to entertain this quote unquote nice guy, and to be clear, we don't mean a masculine man can still be a nice guy, right? You know what? Let me say this. Let me make this really clear, because I think society has misrepresented what the real issue here is. Society likes to believe that women don't like nice guys, at least more specifically when women are at their most desirable. They tend to go for more toxic men, bad boys, things of that nature. Of course, not all women, but there is a perception that a lot, maybe some would argue most, do that. I personally believe the issue isn't that women like a bad man in the sense of a man who will treat them poorly. Women are drawn to masculine energy, all right? And I guess we can say, unfortunately, the bad man, though he is bad, toxic, whatever, exudes more masculine energy than the really nice guy. And for a woman, it is more natural, and we can make the same argument on the flip side, but again, we'll leave that for a different video. But for the woman, it is more natural for her to say to herself, let me take the really rough guy and soften him up, versus let me take the really nice guy and harden him up. All right? Because your nature is to be loving, softer, nurturing, at least the vast majority of women, if not all. So it is easier for you to convince yourself, I can pull that out of him. You can't pull hardness out of him when that's not really your thing. You know what I'm saying? Though some of y'all may be walking in a lot of hardness, and some of y'all may have attempted to toughen up a boyfriend, a husband, whatever. It's not second nature to you to do that. So I want to be clear that when we say nice guy, we are talking about a more passive man, a man who may exude more feminine energy, all right? Because that's the real issue. So with that said, the first thing you have to be mindful of is that man will probably never become more masculine while with you. So here is the problem with trying to get with this nice guy, hoping things can change and get better. When you accept him as the way he is, he will not understand the need to evolve. I'm not even going to use the word change. I'm just going to say evolve, all right? Because, well, his nice guy persona got you, so why would he think anything's wrong? Not to mention, we have to understand that many men who struggle with exuding more masculine energy and may be overly nice or viewed as such, part of the reason is because society has told them, well, when you find that woman you want to be with, treat her like a queen and love her and all this sweet stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that a man should not be embracing those things. But it's that information is given to men in a way that doesn't help them understand that you still have to maintain your masculine frame. All right. You still have to be able to love in your masculine, as the way that I like to put it. A lot of men do not understand that concept. So for them, once they are in love, once they see a woman they really want and they're in their feelings, so to speak, it is very easy, even for the man who is masculine, it's very easy for him to slide into more feminine energy when he is emotionally invested, if he has not learned how to find that balance and master it. But like I said, as far as the guy not changing or becoming more masculine, again, he doesn't see an issue. He thinks this method works. If anything, when he senses something's wrong, right, he will up the ante on essentially the feminine energy. He might become more needy. He might become more emotional. And there's something in his head that thinks, well, maybe if I get on my knees and cry to her, she'll love me more and see how much I love her. But in reality, what happens in most situations is you start losing respect for the dude. He starts looking weaker to you. And I'm not saying whether that's fair or that's right or wrong. I'm saying that is the reality of what happens. So his ability to move past that once you get with him is going to be difficult. The other problem is this, and I've seen this happen in so many situations, so many relationships. If he does recognize, okay, I need to be more masculine, I need to be a little tougher, in this relationship, when he makes attempts, you will view it as so phony and fake. I've seen situations where the woman laughs at the guy, oh, stop trying so hard. And that's how it comes across, because the reality is that for a man to evolve from that nice guy to a more masculine energy, there's a transition. He has to become comfortable with that. So yeah, initially it might look a little phony. It may come across as trying hard. He's still trying to get used to it and get comfortable with it. So while doing it with you already in the relationship, you're not gonna receive it the way it needs to be received. Then what will happen is he will feel discouraged by that. That discouragement will lead to him crawling more into his corner, will lead to him to stop trying. It just does not play out well. So to think that it's going to just work itself out, it's not. And you as a woman have to be honest with yourself about, are you really okay with this energy that he's giving off? Are you okay with the energy that he lacks? All right. If you are, cool, great. And then this video doesn't apply, right? But for most women I have found, it is an issue. So that brings me to my next point. Can you be happy with this forever? Again, you can't try to tolerate it in the meantime, just hoping to just kick the can down the road and things will magically work itself out. It doesn't. So you've got to ask yourself, what's going to happen if 5 years from now, he is this same quote unquote nice guy? And I feel the need to repeat it one more time. Please, if you ever in a situation where you express this to a man, express your concerns, please make sure that you express in a way that says, this isn't about being nice. This is about you're not exuding enough masculine energy. You want to make that differentiation, because let me make clear, I don't believe in too nice. All right. I believe that people are afraid to say no. I believe people are afraid of how others will perceive them. They want to be accepted, validated, all these things. And that causes people to maybe come across as too nice. But again, as I said earlier, someone can be strong, stern, have boundaries, and still be a very nice person. All right. A man can find that balance. But anyways, to just make this short and sweet, this one point, you've got to really, you got to look ahead and say, okay, am I going to be fine if this doesn't change? And fine doesn't mean, can I stay in the relationship? Fine means, can I pour into the relationship at the level that he will need? Fine means, will I be able to not have wandering eyes and feel like I need to go outside of this relationship? Fine means, can I be truly present and happy here in the totality of what this relationship means? All right? And I feel the need to mention, fine also means like, will you be okay with the balance that will also have to be found when it comes to having kids with this man? Because if you don't view him as this masculine guy or this man who is strong, right, and essentially capable of leading, there's going to be some conflict when it comes to the kids as well. There's going to be conflict because you won't have respect for him. If you don't respect that man, it's very likely that the kids will end up not respecting him, or very possible for the kids to end up not respecting him. And again, that just throws the whole dynamic in the household off. Or the kids might respect him and love him, but they're going to view you as the wicked witch because they feel like mommy just be coming at daddy sideways all the time. Like, what is going on here? One way or another, it's going to turn into a toxic household that the kids will be brought up in. You've got to ask yourself, are you prepared for that kind of life? And if not, you should not move forward. And I would hope you're not, because it's not going to be good. All right, so let's keep this moving. And now on to my third point for you to consider. This may feel safe entering into this relationship, but it will turn into something dangerous. All right. Now, I've kind of alluded to some things already as far as how it can get toxic with the lack of respect. And, you know, you just being unhappy and unable to really be present in that relationship. But I want to focus on the aspect of a lot of women embrace being with the nice guy because he is the safe choice. All right. And by safe, they view him as someone who will not betray them, someone that will not cheat on them. Essentially, he's harmless. Right? The threat that you view maybe other men as, you view him as now. He's not only harmless because of his character or how you perceive his character. He is harmless to you because you also, in many subconscious ways, for some people, a lot of people, view yourself as better. As you are the prize in this situation, that he is lucky to be getting a woman like you. You're almost being charitable. I hate saying that, but you're almost damn near being charitable in the situation, you know? And so because of that, you figured, like he's not gonna take advantage. He's not gonna mess up what he has here because he can't get this on a regular. And then that's the huge mistake women make. Because again, for so many of the other reasons that I'll get even more into as the video goes along, when two people are not the right fit for each other, the doors have already been swung open to all kinds of problems. All right. And now, though he is a nice guy, though his character that he has shown you is one of an upstanding man, he's still human. And I've seen these situations end up turning into that same man you thought would never do you wrong, cheating on you. Now, unfortunately, a lot of women view when the cheating finally occurs, a lot of women just chalk it up as men being men. You can't trust them. They all cheat. Even the nice guys you thought were nice would cheat. But no, that's not what's going on here. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but please understand the idea that cheating is just a character flaw or something in someone's DNA that they possess is a very misguided mindset. Even the nicest, best people who never thought in a million years they would ever cheat, never believed in cheating, were strongly against the idea of it, have found themselves in that situation or put themselves in that situation or accepted going down that route, however you want to phrase it, okay? Because there's a lot of other factors that can lead to that. And so with that, man, I've talked about this in a previous video. Two things that typically tend to happen, that can happen. One, again, if he's the guy you're not really into, you're not pouring into him the way that he needs. At some point, though, he was the one that was putting you on a pedestal. If he's not getting his needs met, and there's going to be other women who see that this man is with this woman. And like I said before, if they look at your relationship and say, man, how did he get her? What's special about him, right? He's got to have something going on to get that one. Let me go investigate. This is what leads to some of the vultures coming around, all right, and starting to now want your man and want the situation, right? And for him, if he's in a predicament where he's unhappy at home, all right, and he has these women trying to fill his cup, so to speak, well, that dude's going to drink it. At some point, he's going to take the bait, all right? Does every man do it? No. Has there been nice guy situations that they never cheated at all and they just took the abuse that was going on in that relationship? Yes, I've seen it tons of times. But the idea that this will remain safe is not true. It's never safe if it's an unhealthy relationship. It's never safe if it's the wrong fit, all right? We can pretty much expect something jacked up to happen when two people who don't belong together get together. And to be honest with you, even when two people do belong together, have a connection, there is still a possibility of bad things happening because we are human beings that make mistakes and have bad judgment in certain moments. That's not to excuse it. It's just the reality of life. Okay. So all that to say, this is why I've said it 1,000 times. The safe choice is almost always the wrong choice. And you cannot think that somehow you're going to escape those same issues simply because he's a nice guy and he would never do that. Think again. All right, so before I get to the next point, real quick, want to give you the opportunity to join my special coaching program. Go to receivingmyblessings.com. In this program, you're going to get module or videos on how to heal, tapping into your feminine energy, hearing God more clearly, finding your purpose, meeting relationship-minded men, and so much more. We do live Q&As where you'll get to have your personal questions answered. Again, I can go down a list of benefits from joining this program. It's going to be awesome for you, so take advantage. Again, go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or in the comments section. All right, so now we're on the fourth thing that you need to consider. So we talked about the fact that there's a very possible chance he'll end up cheating. But the reality is that you may end up cheating. Now, some of you are saying, hell no, I would never do that, never in a million years. And listen, I laugh only because, you know what? It's just, I've heard that so many times to only see it still happen. And as I explained to you before, and I'm not even judging nobody, I'm just trying to bring clarity to the fact that when people are not happy in a relationship, the doors can swing open. And again, there's a difference between not happy in the moment, going through a rough patch, versus you're in an unfulfilling, unsatisfying relationship. And you've been in this for a minute now, years now, whatever the case may be. That starts to wear on individuals, all right? And you as a woman, you're no different. The reality is that it may simply take the right circumstances, and when I say right, because I don't want to call cheating right in any way, shape, or form, but all it will take is certain circumstances to be at play for things to possibly happen. As I mentioned earlier with the woman who, in the story, who the guy initially, before she got married, she met at work and she was flirting with him. Listen, there's a lot of times where it starts at flirting and you swear it's not going to go any further. And then before you know it, it takes a turn. All right. And it's very easy for people to get caught up in the moment or caught up in what they're getting from that person and wanting to basically toe the line and think, okay, well, I'll do this, but I won't go any further than that. You know, oh, we'll go out dancing to the club with the girls, knowing the guy's gonna be there, but that's as far as it goes. And it just keeps on going, and next thing you know, boom. Now, there's some people who make up in their mind, yo, I'm doing this. They know they're gonna go cheat, whatever. The point is, whether you decide to do it flat out, whether you find yourself playing with fire, the reality is that you cannot assume that you can just be in an unfulfilling, unsatisfying situation for year after year after year and not think something may go wrong, such as you cheating. All right? And when people say, well, nah, you know, because if you're just gonna cheat, then just leave. Listen, that would be ideal. That would be ideal. But the reality, the unfortunate reality is that for many people who have found themselves or put themselves in a position of cheating, the mentality wasn't, I want to be completely out of this relationship. The mentality was, I'm hoping to God my relationship will finally change and get better, even though, yes, it's been years and it still hasn't gotten better. But I'm drawn to just having this moment of having my thirst quenched, essentially. All right? It's like, yo, I just need this one little hit real quick. And so there's so many other ramifications and factors to consider as to why people just don't up and walk away from the relationship altogether. They got maybe kids to worry about, finances to worry about. And listen, please understand, I am not saying all this to validate cheating. I'm explaining it to y'all. I'm explaining what happens. I'm explaining why people do what they do, why they struggle to just end a relationship instead of actually going outside of it. This is what happens. And so, yes, that can be you if you try to force a relationship with the nice guy that you're not really into. All right, so now let's get a couple more out there before we wrap this up. So I mentioned this earlier. I'm just going to highlight it again. So the other thing to understand is you can't give him what he needs. And what I mean by that is this. You may be an awesome woman. So the same way I said, he might be a nice guy, but he's not the right guy for you. You may be a nice woman, a great woman, but you're not the woman for him. And the reason why I can say confidently you're not going to be able to give him what he needs is because if you are not really into him, your motivation, your ability to consistently pour into his desires is going to be severely hindered, okay? You may be able to pull it off at first, but there will come a point where you can't keep it up anymore. It will fall off. Perfect example, sexually, all right? A lot of relationships, marriages, long-term relationships, whatever, start to, at some point, suffer sexually. And people will assume, oh, it's life, you know, people change, blah, blah, blah. No, the reality was that woman was never from day one into the man, but she used other ways to push her into being able to make this work sexually, pour into his desires in that way. But again, at some point, the smoke clears and she's just like, you just don't like him enough. You're just not into him enough to do the little things he wants. You might be able to do some general stuff. You know, as a woman, you might be able to hold the household down because, well, the household has to be held down regardless, right? You might be able to cook some food if that's what your thing is, because, hell, you might be someone who likes to cook anyway, right? But when it comes to the small details of what he needs and desires, it's going to get tough. It's going to get tough. And as I mentioned before, this is what opens the door to all these other issues. As well as what's hitting my spirit is this. At least this is what I've seen. Women who are with men who are the nice guys who they're not really into like that, there comes a point where he just annoys you. His lack of masculine energy just gets under your skin. All right? And because women, when it comes to, and let's go back to sex for a second. When it comes to being present sexually, there is both a physical, a mental, and an emotional component for women that has to be considered. So if you are thrown off emotionally and mentally from this man, you are annoyed by him, you view him as weak, your sexual attraction is pretty much killed at that point. All right? And again, there's only so much you're going to be able to do or willing to do when it comes to satisfying him. And in turn, his ability to keep pouring into you the way that you need is going to get killed because now he feels like it's a one-sided relationship or he's not getting what he's looking for. So now he's like, well, forget her. And then he starts acting a fool and it's just a whole entire mess. So you got to be real with yourself about that because, again, it just happens so often in these scenarios. All right, so now here's another one. And honestly, I probably should have mentioned this from the beginning. So I hope y'all are still watching because this is a very important one. They're all important, but this is extremely important. Do not let friends, family, or guilt get the best of you. All right? So as I mentioned at the beginning, I did kind of quickly mention it, that one of the worst things for a woman is to be with a great guy she's not in love with. Because as I said, it is very difficult to now validate to herself and to friends and family that she does not want to be with this man. It gets even worse if as a woman gets older, as a woman has yet to have kids, because many women are dealing with family and friends who are in their ear about when you're going to have a baby, when you're going to get married, this, that, and the other. And so that pressure causes a lot of women to make the mistake of now getting with this type of guy. It might push them to seek out this kind of guy, all right? But definitely when it's presented to them, or definitely when they're already dealing with this guy, this is what creates an even deeper unhealthy attachment. And you've got to be able to stand strong in knowing if this isn't for you, this isn't for you. Listen, those friends and family members, they don't have to wake up next to this man every day for the rest of their life. They don't have to deal with what you deal with. They're not going to be there to make sure you're getting what you need in this relationship when this man is falling short. So to make any decisions based off of how they're seeing things is not the way to go. Now, here's another thing to hit in my spirit that I've had to mention, because I've seen this. Please, please, please do not try to intentionally tarnish this man's name to validate an exit. All right? I have seen scenarios where women, because they feel so, I hate using the word stuck, trapped, whatever, they now have to find some way to paint this man as a bad guy so they can finally have their validation. All right? Some will create scenarios. Some will make up flat out lies. You know, there's various things that happen. But please do not let that be the case for you. That's just not healthy. Plain and simple, it's not healthy. It's not fair to him. It's not necessary. You've got to just be able to say, you know what, this isn't for me. Friends and family may not understand that. They may think you're crazy. They may think you're being too picky. They may think you're being unreasonable. You have to be true to what you know is going on. But also, do not let guilt keep you in there. Because again, there's two sides to the guilt. There's the guilt that you may put on yourself of, oh my gosh, I'm letting go of this nice guy, you know, and in those scenarios, he doesn't want to let go. So you feel bad. And it's like, man, you know what? And he's asking for another chance or whatever. And you give into that. Or again, it's the guilt that he puts on you, pressuring you. No, please, baby, don't let me go. And you just don't know how to just stand strong in your rejection of him or your release of him. All right. But here's what I want you to understand. When you start to feel bad about letting go of this man, please understand you are doing him and you a favor. All right. If you are not the woman for him, let him go find the one that's for him. He may not understand or see that right now, But there will come a time where he'll be able to look back and thank you. And hopefully, if he's mature enough and evolved, he will be able to see, you know what? We just weren't the right fit. It was what was best. All right. So you don't need to feel guilty about it. You're doing more harm to him, holding on to him when you know you're not into him. You're doing more harm when you know you can't sustain satisfying him for years to come. All right. It's best that you do what needs to be done and walk away. All right. And so the last thing I'm going to say on this topic, and some of y'all may know what's coming, is you have to consider, did you talk to God about this? You know me. I'm all about praying about it, talking to God, listening to your intuition. You've got to be careful of making the mistake of trying to evaluate this on your own. Trying to let, again, friends and family, and hell, even me, because let me make this clear. I said earlier, he will not become more masculine while with you. And your ability to embrace his evolution will be difficult. That does not mean that y'all can't break apart, that he can't evolve, and then y'all come back together. And while he's improving those things about him, there's going to be some things you need to improve. So, and this is where God comes in even more, because again, God may be able to tell you, listen, this might be the guy for you. Just step away right now. It ain't time right now. He still needs some maturing. He still needs to figure some things out. And when he can stand strong in that and exude that masculine energy that you desire out of him, now you two can move forward, because now you guys can have an actual healthy and happy relationship. So pray. Listen to the answer in your spirit. Let God guide you. I am giving you things to consider, but allow God to give you the final answer in your situations. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So there's a quote that says, women use sex to get love, and men use love to get sex. Now, whether you agree or disagree with that statement, I think we can agree that there are a lot of women